Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jordan here with another Warhammer Total War online commentary. So this was definitely a very fun game I had as the Greenskins against the Empire, and this is a new composition I've been trying in a lot of ladder battles, and I'll go ahead and pause it because we're actually very close together. I've been trying a front line of goblins with spears, actually. So this is just kind of a fodder strategy that has a very, very heavy punch to follow up. So I use the front lines of goblins with spears who are shielded and, as inferred, they are expendable. So they are going to take a lot of this gunfire from these handgunners, which, ends up paying off at the end of the day. And then behind them, I have a secondary line of black orcs. So these are my shock infantry. They're very strong. They're armor piercing, tons of HP, tons of armor, good weapon strength, just all around solid troops that the Greenskins have at their disposal. And then behind them, I bring a giant, and then I also bring an Arachnarok spider. And I've tried this build on like 3 or 4 games, and it's done pretty well. I've won most of them. I think I lost one pretty heavily, but most of the games it does pretty good. And again, I would encourage you guys to try it and give me any feedback you got on it. In the back, I have an Orc War Boss. I feel he is just, again, with this potion meta where you can just spam potions, I think perhaps it would be a good balancing tip to just like allow you to bring one potion, because bringing a healing potion and a potion of toughness just makes these Thanes and War Bosses and other units so durable. They're just so good with that. And then I have an Orc Shaman, so definitely going to be using some unit buffs and different things like that. And in the back here, I have an Arachnarok Spider. And then I also have 2 units of Night Goblin Archers. I really like these because they're just so good at getting in like power positions. I can sneak them up on this hill and then just start teeing off on him. So I really, really like the Night Goblins. I've been experimenting them, and I guess this is kind of a Goblin build, so why not stay in theme, So as far as my opponent's army composition goes, he has halberdiers, which would be quite good against my giants and other units. But ideally, I use my goblins to like entrap them, and then I can get optimal engagements with my large units. So more halberdiers here. He has a Demogryph Knights with halberds, so he has a lot of answers actually to my big units. And then in the secondary line, he has handgunners, and behind them he has greatswords. So definitely a unit with very high value units. He doesn't have a lot of fodder units. He also is a general of the Empire, and as far as magic goes, I believe he has some sort of wizard. Maybe it's hiding, or maybe he just didn't bring one. I'm not sure, which is very, very uncommon. Suppose he was just pinching pennies to get as many elite units as he can. But maybe it'll appear at some point throughout the battle. So without further ado, let's get started. So again, with this strategy, you just want to engage and kind of envelop his forces with that goblin front line. And there are a lot of them. And, if you keep your lord nearby to encourage them, they actually can last a little while. I mean, 60 leadership isn't terrible. I mean, it's not good by any means, but it's not terrible. And then you use these black orcs to follow up. And then you pad that even further with this giant and these other units. So I immediately, he takes a little bit of the initiative and starts to move some of his troops up. And I get these Goblin Night Archers who are still hidden. You can be like right up on the enemies and hide them. So I figure let's get them on the high ground here, and then they can just shoot and rain down on these handgunners. So I've really been having a lot of fun with the Goblin Night Archers. And again, they're still hidden. Look how close they are. They still can't see these little guys. So definitely very cool. I was concerned that he would see them, so I started to move up my main line just in case they get like caught out by this General of the Empire. And he started to go for that high ground, so I knew I had to get on him. Because if I just let him get up there and set up, I would have had a really rough situation. So I had to like push aggressively, and then because then he's kind of in a bad position right now. Most of his troops are kind of sidewinded, and there's his leader right there. He has Davy Crockett, so I think he's going to summon a Manticore here in a moment. I can't recall. So he does pull this General of the Empire, and I believe he just dive bombs my troops. Now I've noticed a lot of people doing this lately just to kind of disrupt ranks, and I do pull the Orc War Boss to chase him off, and he rides over on his pig and gives him some business. But he has these potions, so people are just become so much more brave with these lords, because he can go down to 30 or 40%, and he can just potion up to full. So again, I get these Night Goblins in position, and they start teeing off on these handgunners, which is a great position for me. See, these guys are having a really bad time, and Night Goblins are so good at getting in position for that type of thing. So he immediately pulls over these halberdiers, and unfortunately he gets a nice engage on the Arachnarok. But I use Goblins and the Arachnarok to surround these guys. They'll get the morale hit of being attacked in their rear. They're already at 30 leadership, and this guy causes, I don't know if he causes terror. I don't think they inherently do, but regardless, they're already shaken. And these Night Goblins are doing really good. With the Orc Shaman, I use the Fists of Gork, melee defense, weapon damage, and melee attack. And Black Orcs are the best target for that. They just do heavy damage, and it'll help them to cut through these great swords. And the Arachnarok Spider, in conjunction with those Goblins, were able to actually chase off those halberdiers, so I was very happy. Another thing with the giants, I like to get them mixed in with other soldiers, because if you were just to engage a giant alone, these halberdiers could surround it. But as you guys can see, the Arc isn't that good. He might have like a few halberdiers striking it, but he's supported by goblins. So even though he's taking a ton of missile fire, it's kind of unavoidable. He's able to just swing over your frontline melee troops and then not take a bunch of damage from that halberdier. So unfortunately, he is taking a lot of missile fire. And I did use the Ere We Go to give these guys the additional melee attack, but at this point, his front line is collapsing. I had the Wa, the Ere We Go. I had all these terror units and big units in here just causing havoc, and also it was going pretty well. And again, those goblins, like, look at these guys. They're just over here fighting greatswords. They've been here for a while fighting them. And these greatswords are just being absolutely wasted on these goblins. Just a terrible, terrible situation for them to be in. So I definitely like this strategy. So you use the front line of goblins to absorb the shock. You follow up with these guys and use the Orc Shaman to really keep those goblins and other units in the fight. And then you supplement your main... So it's a very hard-nosed frontline strategy. And you use the Giant and the Arachnarok Spider to pinch off the flanks. That was definitely a cool missile attack there. And this Amber Wizard is going to... Man, he really got punished there. Got knocked down the hill. He does have this Manticore and other units in here, but again, the Fist of Gork is just making my units so resilient. And I would have to say, one of the MVPs this game was the Night Goblins. You guys didn't see a ton of it, but they were able to just get in there and frickin' do some serious work against those handgunners. So I was very, very happy about that. And now they're firing into the tree line over here. So, again, they did a very good job flanking. So, and he did, I'm not sure what he did with his Demogryph Knights. I think he kind of was like trying to get a circle flank, and he was chasing my Lord for a while on the back line, but they never really got a good opportunity to go in. So, to be honest, that might have been one of the reasons I won, is because he didn't use them very well. But regardless, they get in here on their Arachnarok Spider, but are quickly tied up with goblins. And, the remainder of his troops are quickly going to be collapsed on by the green tide over here. So the Gobos are pretty happy about the way that game went. And again, I actually like this strategy a lot, using those monstrous units in conjunction with the buffs that the other orcs have. And the war boss is over here chasing off these great swords, so it's definitely going well for me. I probably should have used him to like chase down the enemy leadership rather than chase off those units. But again, it's if you kind of have him near these routing units, and the Night Goblins are chasing too, it keeps them from coming back. And those guys are already shattered, so I should have recognized that. So anyways, it was a very good game. I like that strategy a lot. I mean, that wasn't the best showcase of it, but I just wanted to show you guys the composition. The Goblins are really good, and you can saw, all right, Goblins aren't really good, but they did a good job in this situation at facing off against longswords, and as you can see, these longswords racked up quite a few Goblin kills, which is good. That's what you want. You don't want them, fighting your Black Orcs. You want them to engage on the Goblins, get worn out a little bit, then the Black Orcs come in with the various buffs, because Orcs do have pretty good unit buffs with the Fists of Gork and the Wa and, the Ere We Go with the Shaman. Your melee can really pack a punch. So that Giant and the Arachnarok Spider, when supported by the Goblins, were able to even beat their counters pretty handily. So, again, it was definitely worked out quite well for me. So, again, I think my opponent just didn't effectively use those Demogryph Knights, and that was a big downfall. He was doing kind of laps behind me, trying to, like, snipe my Shaman, who just kept running into my melee ranks. So then he had to take the long way around to try and get back. So definitely wasn't optimal for him there. But anyways, good game to Mr. Yamato over here. Look forward to seeing you again on the ladder. And thanks for watching, guys. Please let me know your thoughts on the strategy, or if you have any suggestions. Again, you guys have been teaching me so much. I mean, just about unit counters and suggestions. And, even up until, a week ago, I was using primarily units that couldn't use potions, but just using that was made a big improvement in my game. So thanks again, guys. Really appreciate all your support, and have an excellent night. Take care.